a live stream with my friend, my buddy from high school, Justin. And we're going to be talking about a very important topic, single, 35, and you're still living at your mama house. We got to get you into your own home because this is crazy. If you're in our age, you should
Uh,
be owning a house by now and not renting, especially if you're in Toronto and in GTA and housing prices. If you bought them when you were 25, they now have tripled. You can see right now in Toronto, everybody that's owning a house in Toronto, even if you're underwater, they're all millionaires. Everybody that owns a home now in Toronto, you could consider a millionaire. Right, Justin?
isn't that crazy? Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
know.
true.
I never
It's
thought.
true.
I
All right, wait.
remember.
I'm going to stop you there for a second, Will,
Yeah.
because I know you want to go straight to business, but
Mhm.
we have to start on a personal note because we have some history. Okay, like
Yeah.
how long have we known each other, Will?
We've known each other since grade school. I think
That's
that
right.
was the time we had a
I
fight
think
with the
I
Taco
must have been.
Bell. Remember the Taco Bell
Oh my
fight?
God. I think we were eight years old. 8 years old. Willow Park. That's where we met each other, right?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And then I ended up I went back and forth between Willow Park and St. Barbara's a couple times, and then I went. This was grade four. I was in Willow Park again for a few months, and then back at St. Barbara's, and then you joined soon after that. That's how we met each other.
That's right. So yeah, we
Yeah,
were at Willow Park, the public school, for a few
yeah.
months, and then he just disappeared.
Miss
And then I went to St. Barbara,
yeah,
and
Miss
we
Payne's
started off at
class
grade
at Willow
school.
Park. That's where we started.
Yeah, so Willow Park, then to St. Barbara, and
That's right.
I guess you made another disappearance in St. Barbara to go to
Yeah,
India, right?
that's right. Yeah, I was gone for a few years and then kind of resurfaced all of a sudden in grade 12 at Pope,
Yep, and
where
you did a little
you and
poet, and
our
we were
other
like,
friends
"Oh
were
my
at.
God!" we thought it was just rumors that Kingston was talking about you coming back, but we actually
Oh
saw
man,
you in grade 12. We're like, "Wow!"
that's right, man. So yeah, so we go way back.
Yeah, we
We've
go
known
way
each
back.
other for
Oh man,
27 years now. That's a long time.
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you,
Oh,
but
it's
I
okay.
thought
You go ahead and give a
we had to
background.
put that out there.
Yeah, that's okay. So, yeah, tell me about, being a realtor now. I see now you're a realtor. Tell me about that. How you got into it?
Yeah, so I started the process, I guess, around end of 2011, beginning of 2012. So at the time, I was thinking of quitting my day job and just going and doing a startup or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of my friends were doing startups, and I thought, okay, maybe that's a good idea. I'd been working as a consultant for PwC
Yep.
for a few years, and I kind of wanted to do something different. And my parents are very like kind of like fiscally conservative, and of me going from like making money to potentially making nothing for a long time was kind of frightening for them. So like why would you do that? Why would you quit your job and just go
That's
do a
right.
startup? So I said I just kind of want to have something of my own. And so then my dad suggested, okay, well, there are no real estate agents in our family. Why don't you become a real estate agent? Because we have a pretty big extended family here. So yeah, and
Yeah.
people are buying and selling real estate, and we were using kind of like family friends or people that we kind of knew for to help with that. But he's like, we should have a realtor in the family. So he kind of suggested that that's something that I should do. And so I knew nothing about real estate at the time. All I knew is, I just wanted to have some sort of side hustle or my own
Yeah.
business. So that's kind of what got me into it. And so like and we can go into this further, but like there's a whole process in terms of the courses and stuff that you have to take. And if you want to expedite it, you can do it in a matter of months, or it could
Wow.
take like a
Must we
couple
could be
years,
a
depending.
realtor.
You
Wow.
could, yeah. I think most people, I think it usually takes like a couple years just to finish everything.
Do
Um,
you need to
and
get like a bachelor's degree or a master's degree before you get into the whole realtor training program? Or is this right out of high school you can
uh,
get into it?
well, I don't have a master's degree. I can tell you. So, from what I understand, the requirements are you need to be a resident of Canada, you need to be 18 or older, and you need to have your secondary school diploma or GED.
Okay. Okay, so you can get a. So now looking back, maybe around maybe I guess 25, 24, is it more lucrative now to be a realtor than it is? Would you make more money now as a realtor than 10 years ago?
If you can manage to hustle up a few deals, yeah, you make a lot more now, I think, than when I started, for sure.
Oh, okay. That's a good, so that is pretty good then. Yeah, because right now, a lot of these houses are going for over a million. So just making a few percentage is like what people make in a whole year 50, 60,000 just from few percentage from the deal out of a million.
It can be, yeah, but there's a lot of competition out there. Like there's like tens of thousands of agents in Ontario. Like I don't even know the exact number, but it's very
Wow.
high. And so it's like everybody's uncle is an agent. So if you think you're gonna get, you think you're
Yeah.
gonna get your friends signed up, or even your own family. So that might not always be the case, because everybody knows like 10 different realtors within their
So now
close circle.
now your family's got a whole bunch of realtors. Back in the time when they suggested it to you, it was only what? It was just you, but now what? There's a whole bunch in your family.
I guess in my family, it's still technically just me, but
Okay.
within that extended circle, there's definitely more connections there than there were before. So yeah,
Wow. It's really growing then.
it is. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, being a realtor, which population is buying these homes in Toronto for $1 million? I can't see people coming out of high school buying these houses. Who is buying these houses that are going over $1 million in Toronto GTA?
Yeah, it is all different age groups that are buying. I think it really comes down to the house type. I'd say, first time home buyers usually start off with like a condo, and then slowly move their way up. And it's like it obviously varies based on your situation. Some people just go straight to a house if they can. And
Hmm.
then, but it's not just like young people or first time home buyers. There's plenty of people. You have young families who are looking to upsize. So people who already have a condo or a townhouse, and they have kids and need more space and they're upsizing. Or it could be like an older couple that are getting ready to retire and it's time to downsize. So they may have a huge house, and they just want to sell it and cash out and find a condo or smaller home
Oh,
somewhere.
okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, people at different levels because you know I keep seeing on YouTube that there's a trend for young people, millennials like us, under 35, that more of us are renting rather than um, owning a house. Do you see that trend in your workplace that, millennials on average
Yeah.
are renting more than actually owning?
Yeah, I mean that would be the case just because homes are so expensive, right? So at least in the beginning, people tend to rent until they have enough money saved to put a down payment.
Hmm.
And in a lot of cases, people look to parents to help them out in the beginning, at least with their first home.
Okay, so yeah.
To lend them some money, or as a gift to help them with that down payment. So that's how a lot of people get started.
Okay,
But yeah, in the
yeah,
beginning.
5% is a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And if you're striving for 20% because you're trying to avoid the CMHC insurance, then yeah, it could take a while before you have that money, right?
Yeah, so that family would be, even family, working together to get even one house that's a duplex or something like that would be very beneficial. But even coming up with 20%, in my case, because this is my second house, I had to
Yeah,
come up with 20% down.
yeah,
I couldn't even look at Toronto and GTA. I had to go way out in Niagara area to get something
yeah.
20% down that was affordable.
And that's true for a lot of young people. They are looking to the suburbs or the exoburbs, or just
Mhm.
leaving the GTA entirely, looking to places like London, I think people are looking out in like Kingston now just because it's still kind of cheap there. But
Wow.
people are going to Cambridge, Waterloo, all over the place. Places that they were never considering before, just because GTA's gotten so expensive.
Yeah, GTA got so expensive. Like, there's a trend now in New York City where a lot of the people from New York City are moving out because it's become so expensive to smaller, you know, cities like Buffalo, New York, and Syracuse and Albany. Do you see that going on with Toronto and the GTA, that a lot of people now have decided to move outside of GTA
Yeah,
for a better property for the same price?
I think that's true for all big cities, particularly in New York City, and I think that's largely because of COVID, because everyone had started working from home, and so now there wasn't this need to commute into the city to be close to your
Oh,
office.
that's
So
right.
yeah, I think there's a lot of news out there about people leaving New York City to leave for smaller cities because they can work remotely. But it is true, I think, for all big cities, and it's true for Toronto as well. That's why you're seeing like cottage country prices going up quite a bit.
Of
Just
course,
because,
because everybody wants to work from home
yeah,
now. They have the ability to
yeah,
work from home. Why stay in Toronto where you can go to another smaller town?
exactly, exactly. So I think that's definitely the trend right now with COVID.
Hmm.
Whether it will remain that way with this intensity after it's over, the pandemic's over, who knows? I think that it definitely won't swing the other way at the rate that it was going. Like I think so many people were moving into the city,
Yeah.
and I think it'll still shift back to that direction eventually, but maybe not with the same enthusiasm as before, because now I think a lot of companies have kind of taken a step back and reassessed their situation and decided, you know what, maybe there are other options for how we conduct business. So a lot of companies are just doing like either have like a permanent work from home policy, or
Hmm.
they're looking at hoteling options for their employees so that they can come into the office once or twice a week. But then for that they don't really require as much real estate. So I think commercial real estate, I think, is probably a dangerous place to be right now.
Wow. Yes, it is because they're actually being restricted. So
Yeah,
that would be harder than to just pick up your company and move to another location. It's a lot
yeah,
harder than
yeah.
residential, where you can just sell your property. What, 5 days is the average now? People are selling houses.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and with commercials, just like once this pandemic started, a lot of companies started renegotiating their leases with their landlords, just because it's looking more lucrative just to break the lease than to complete it, or like or than to continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic, I think, with commercial real estate. But yeah, I think there are definitely going to be long-term effects on real estate as a result of the pandemic, for sure.
I see. Yeah, that is a good idea. So there is a trend going on thanks to COVID. But let's talk about a young person coming out of high school, so enthusiastic about getting into real estate. He sees people making money, and he's asking himself, Justin, you're a realtor. How can I get my house as soon as possible? I want to get into buying, fixing, and flipping. How do I get into it? What advice would you give this young person coming into the game at 18 years old?
Yeah, well, if you're 18 and you're thinking about this already, good for you. I think it's important definitely to try to be fiscally responsible from a young age.
Yep.
Saving's really important. I think we know that, and I
Yeah.
think it's an important lesson for all young people. Just because even if you're just saving a little bit at a time, over time it'll make a big difference.
That's
Um,
right.
you know, uh, it might be a matter of being a little tighter with your purse strings, to make those
That's why
savings
you can't
happen.
trick it up too much.
Yeah, that's right. You have a plan. Have a plan, I would say.
Yep.
Figure out what is your goal. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to eventually buy a condo, buy a house? Where do you want to be? And start saving your money. By the time you have money saved, the prices for real estate in that area may have gone up already, but at least you'll have something.
Yeah.
And there are things that first time home buyers can do that'll
Okay. Yeah,
benefit them.
that's a
Like
good idea. That's what I use.
yeah, and you might know about this. You can put money into RRSPs
Hmm.
for first time. So the way RRSPs work, when you put money in, you'll get a tax credit after you file your taxes for the money
Yep.
that you've put in, right? It's essentially exempting you from the tax you would have paid in income tax for that amount that you put in. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but um,
Yeah.
so generally speaking, you can't take that money out until you retire. And then when you retire, the idea is it'll be a smaller income stream, so you'll be paying less tax on it. But there are certain exemptions, one of them being with first-time home buyers, so you can extract the money that you've put into RRSP after already having collected the tax credit on it,
Yep.
and you don't have to pay a penalty. You don't have to pay that tax back. Normally, if you pull the money out of your RSP, you have to pay the tax credit that you would have got from it back, that
Yes.
income tax. So, but in the case of first-time home buyer, you can do up to, I believe it used to be 25,000, I think it's 35,000 now, that
Yeah.
you can,
35.
yeah,
So you
only
can
for first-time
combine
home
it with
buyers.
your spouse and have probably up to 70,000 withdrawn.
You can, but you have to be very careful with this because if either one of you has owned property before, then
Yes.
neither of you will qualify when you
Oh, okay.
when you
Both of
go
them
to
have
do
to
the.
be first-time home buyers.
That's right. I found this out the hard way because
Oh, okay.
my dad told me, okay, this is something you should do. So I put money into my RSPs, and when I bought my first condo, I used that money as part of my down payment.
Yeah.
But when I bought my house with my wife, she was a first-time home buyer, and I said, "Yeah, you should put money into your RSP." Do the same thing I did, and then I realized, at the time of closing, that yeah, this won't work because I
What?
wasn't a first-time home buyer. She wouldn't be considered a first-time home buyer either, and so she couldn't benefit from that exemption.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's something really important that people should be aware of. That it
Good thing
really
you
only
pointed
applies.
that out for anybody
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, because yeah, unfortunately, I learned it the hard way, but hopefully, people will hear this and learn from that lesson.
Yeah, because you would think that her being a first-time home buyer, then everything would just go through her, or she would
Yeah,
have a higher percentage of owning the house. But just because you bought a house and your name is on the second house, they automatically disqualify her from being a first-time home buyer.
yeah. And what's funny is before we bought the house, and before we got married, we were looking at a condo for her, and at that time she would have qualified for that, been able to use that RRSP withdrawal, because I wouldn't have been on title.
Yeah.
And so, coincidentally, condo prices went up a lot after that. So we were kind of kicking ourselves that, we
Oh,
just
man,
kind of like
we
a
used to
double
laugh
whammy.
about condos. Why are we buying air for?
Yeah, I remember like at the time we were looking, some of my relatives were just like, you know what, why are you even looking for a condo? Just get married and save up and buy a house. So I was like, yeah, I guess so. And now afterwards we kind of regretted not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, but so what? If you're not a first-time home buyer, then what does the bank now require you to pay? Not the 5% or use your RRSPs. Would you have to put a larger deposit now? That's what they asked you to do?
For an investment property, like like how you had to put down 20%, right? Or not
Yeah.
invest, yeah. So like that's what they require of you. And generally speaking, if you're not a first-time home buyer, you wouldn't be putting down the minimum 5% because you already have equity from your home, right?
Okay.
Um, so it's usually easier for people with an existing home to move from house to house.
Yeah.
Minus all the land transfer taxes and all of that.
Okay. Wow, that's a good thing to know. Just in case any
Yeah,
of you are getting married or about to get married, find out if your other spouse owns a property or not, just to make
yeah,
sure that
very very important.
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't get surprised at the end of closing and they want more.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. So now another thing I see a lot when I was out looking for properties, I always see the posting of sold over asking, and I always ask the realtor why sell it for such a low price, and then when I make the offer to buy the house for the asking price, they refuse it. I was like, then why even make that offer, that listed offer of buying the property? Uh,
Yeah.
is this a trick? What's going on here? Was I supposed to put more in the bucket or?
Yeah, so it's this thing called offer presentation. That's actually been around for a very long time,
Okay,
but I think it's been employed as a more common strategy just in the last within the last 10 years because the market has been so hot on and off.
yep,
And the idea is that you know the the seller will have their home listed for significantly under the market value of the home. And the
yeah,
idea
and
is
you
to
get
try
that
to
offer.
get, yeah, so the idea is to try to get as many people to see the house as possible, right? To drum up that interest and
Hmm.
then uh, to get them to submit multiple offers at a designated date. So they'll hold back offers until a certain date. So it could be like 5 days to a week from the time that the
Yeah,
property is listed. And then at that point, the hope is so many people will have seen the house and will want to put an offer on the house that, on offer day, there'll be so many offers that it essentially scares people into putting the highest price possible. You
so
know,
it works all the time then.
no, it doesn't work all the
Oh,
time.
okay,
But if the market is hot and if you've priced it correctly and you're in the right neighborhood, then yeah, it will work. Um, but it can backfire too. If you do an offer presentation and you list the price too high, like if you know, it's very different to say that something's sold over asking and to say that it's sold over market value, right?
okay. Because I would
You
see
know,
sold over asking. Is this to
yeah,
play on words, little tricks that they're using?
yeah, because if you listed the property at 100,000 under what its market value should be, and then it sold for 100,000 over asking, well, you just sold it at the market price, right? So it's just yeah, it's a play on words,
Smile.
but everyone kind of uses it. I think it's more for the buyers out there. I would say don't get turned off by that wording. Just
Hmm.
do a little bit more analysis. Talk to a realtor to find out what is the actual market value of that house.
Okay.
You can do a sort of comparative market analysis to see what other homes in the neighborhood have gone for, and then that gives you an idea of what. Well, okay, was that price reasonable or not, or did someone actually pay 100,000 over what they should have paid? Because that's not usually the case, right? When they say 100,000
No,
over asking, it doesn't mean anything. You have
no.
to see
So
what
these
other
are the
houses in the
tricks
neighborhood sold
people
for.
use and advertise themselves that,
That's right.
look at me, I'm selling all these houses over asking. You list it for $1 and everyone's offering 100,000 and then you say you sold over a hundred
Yeah.
thousand asking.
Oh, somebody wants to say hello here.
Oh,
This is
hello.
my son Leo. Leo, say
So
hi to
you're
Will.
starting an RESP for that young one, eh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hopefully,
Oh
school
man.
doesn't become too expensive at that time.
I know. I know.
Oh
Oh,
man, but it's good. You know that how cost of going to school has still not skyrocketed like America. Because I went to America for a few courses, and it was like the whole tuition that you would pay in Toronto is like what you pay over there for one semester. So it's like
that's
three
crazy.
times the cost in America.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. All right.
Talking
Well,
about
I'm.
houses.
I know. Okay. Let me just 1 second. Say bye, bye, Will.
Bye bye. He wants to know what's going on. Okay, here's another thing that I see sometimes on Facebook. I know you
Yep.
get those postings also on Facebook being a realtor. You get all of those funny pics of weird houses being sold in Toronto. Now, I don't get to see all of them, but what's the weirdest that you've ever seen or ever shown or listed being as a realtor? What's the weirdest? Can you describe that one?
I think I've seen one or two of these things where they look kind of super weird. I don't know what that's about. Um, Toronto's an old city, so there's a lot of old houses out there, and people have done weird things to them over time. Um, I can say the house that I bought, back in 2017, in like South Etobicoke, and that the previous owner had actually it was a bungalow with a huge porch, and the owner had put these sort of commercial grade glass like windows all around the porch, and it looked kind of like it wasn't clear if it was a home or a business of some sort.
Oh, okay.
And so when we moved in, we ripped all of those out.
Oh
And
man,
it
that's
was
very expensive to put up, and now you want to take them down.
I could tell. I felt a little bad because I was like, oh, this looks like expensive stuff. But I think the owner, I'd spoken to them right before they left, and or I think one of the neighbors told me that they had got it from a friend who worked at a bank, and I think the bank was being torn down or something, and so they had these
Okay.
expensive windows left over, and so they just decided to use them. But I mean, it didn't look like a house anymore, right? It's funny because I took them down and we kind of,
Those are
repaired
heavy.
the porch, and
Yeah,
yeah, they were heavy,
yeah.
and it's funny because one of my neighbors came up to me and he thanked me for removing them because he said his friends would come over and make fun of him because it looked like there was a massage parlor across the street from him.
You love you long time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, some of y'all need to pay attention to your house.
So
Oh,
yeah, that's probably the weirdest one that I've had to deal with.
that's the weirdest one you ever had to deal with. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know in Buffalo, sometimes these people do renovations. They get so carried away that they forget about the bathroom.
Yeah.
So they put the
Um,
bathroom in the basement or somewhere in the attic. It's like so out of
what? Oh man, yeah. You know what? You will see some houses like that in Toronto as well, just because a lot of these houses are over like 100 years old, where like they didn't necessarily have a washroom in the house at that
yeah.
time. So then they had to add it to the basement usually. I don't know if I've seen one in the attic before, but I guess that could be
Yeah,
true too.
the one I'm buying right now, the one in Port Colborne,
Yeah.
it's a small house, and then they put an addition, and that's where they put the bathroom and like the washer and dryer. So I said, without that addition, where would the bathroom and washer would have went? Because the
Yeah.
house was already small, and you made a whole addition just to put a bathroom. I was like, man, this house either had to be small or they put it up in the attic or something.
People get creative, with some of these old houses, you might see like a tub in the kitchen. You never know.
They built the house and they forgot to put the washroom, so they make an addition.
Yeah, that's funny.
Very strange, but
Yeah.
sometimes I guess contractors do make mistakes.
People do what they got to do. You got so much square footage, you got to somehow make it work.
Yeah, like that. What was it? That small house that sold in Oshawa. I think it was the size of a bachelor pad. I think
Oh
it was
yeah.
a month ago. It was like the smallest house being sold in the GTA. I don't
Oh
know if
really?
you.
I didn't see that one.
Okay,
No.
that was a posting. I was like, man, where's the washroom then if it's that small?
Yeah.
But somehow they pull it out. Maybe they put it in the basement or something.
People find a way, man. Like, have you seen these shows with like tiny houses and the things that they do it's like, you could be like sitting on the toilet and then, frying bacon on the pan at the same time because the kitchen's so close to your washrooms.
These tiny houses, I don't understand it. Why tiny houses?
I
Like,
don't know. I'm not a fan. I think like a lot of people love those shows and including in my
yeah,
household, but I can't. I can't.
people try to push their limits.
Yeah.
So, what can I do now as a home buyer? What can I do to maintain the value or increase the value? We know how to make it decrease. Don't do no repairs, have
Yep.
some badass things in
Yep.
there and rip up the place. What do I have
Yep.
to do to increase the value or maintain the value. So then 5 years from now, when you come to resell my house, you don't look at me as such disgust and say, you're giving me a lot of work here. What do I need to do to improve
Yeah.
in my house next 5 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, so speaking, I guess, a little more generally for people that are looking to sell, I often tell them the main things that you want to do before listing your house are to declutter, and then look for like superficial renos that can really help to make the house pop, right?
Yeah.
So, um, when I say declutter, I mean like really going through your house and like emptying out everything. And I just went through this process with my parents, and trust me, it is painful. Like they've
Yeah.
been living in the same house for like, sorry?
How long have they been there in that house? Is it the Toronto one?
Yeah, so not the one when I was growing up on Windover, but they've been living in the Rouge neighborhood for the last 17 years.
Wow.
Um, so they have a house there, and they just recently sold it. But the process, man, like 17 years worth of living in a house, you collect a lot of stuff, and you don't realize it until you start
Yeah.
cleaning it out, right? So I would say if you're thinking about selling your home, start like packing stuff as early as possible. Obviously there might be some renovations that you might want to consider, but that might be dependent on a contractor coming. You can start packing like right now. Like you can go through your closets,
Mm-hmm.
get boxes, start putting stuff away, and really just do whatever you can to declutter your home, because it makes a big difference when people
Yeah.
walk into your home. You don't want it to be completely empty, but you want it to have like the minimum amount of furniture and decor that allows someone to kind of picture what the house would or should look like, and
Okay.
you want to keep it as neutral as possible as well, right? So, don't go too heavy on the cultural or religious items, is my recommendation usually for people, just because
Yeah.
you want it to appeal to as broad of an audience
Just
as
want a
possible.
basic open space and
Yeah,
maybe a bed.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, that's sort of my advice in terms of decluttering. And then in terms of renovations,
Yep.
um, I find it's the superficial stuff that you really want to focus on. Obviously, if there are really important um, you know uh, issues that need to be repaired, that in terms of the normal maintenance of the house, then we should look into that, because you don't want to run into trouble later on with a
No.
potential buyer. But just in terms of increasing the value of your home, just doing stuff like, if you have a really old house, maybe look at replacing some of the flooring, whether it's tiles or hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to update your countertops. If you have a laminate countertop, maybe you want to look at quartz or granite or something.
Okay.
Sometimes adding a backsplash to a kitchen can make a huge difference in the look. And those are some relatively easy fixes. Some people go all out, and you might change all your cabinetry. Some people like to totally remodel their home, like tear down walls and open things up. And sometimes those things can be helpful. Normally I would recommend the bigger rentals if you're planning to live there for a while, before you sell
Yeah.
it, because you can enjoy it and see how it all looks. But for the purpose of like a quick sell,
Yep.
you just look for the basic stuff, right? That really, like, you
Okay.
just want someone to walk in and be like, okay, I can move in
Make it
right away.
easy
There's
for
no,
you.
yeah, yeah. So like you don't want a buyer to walk in and think, oh my gosh, there's so much work to be done in this home,
Yeah, you
right?
want to make it easy for you as a realtor, if you're
Yeah,
trying to work with your realtor.
yeah, exactly. So those are the things. And one other thing I would say is
Yep.
really consider just doing like a fresh coat of paint. Fresh coat of paint makes a world of difference, believe it or not. And try to stick with neutral colors if you can. If you're kind of artistic, and you kind of know where a good accent wall might go, then yeah, you could maybe do a bold color here and there. But a fresh coat of paint actually helps to make the house look new. And then there are other little
Yep.
things like you wouldn't even think.
What's that?
of, like, for example, just replacing you, because over time those things they may have been painted over, they might be rusted. Those are so easy
Oh
and so
yeah.
cheap to remove and install, that once you put in the new one in, it looks like, oh, it kind of looks like a new house. Or even replacing baseboards. That's another minor fix that you can do. That
Oh
if
yeah.
you
It's
have the
new.
old, smaller baseboard, and then you get now all the houses have the larger one, right? So you put
Yeah.
that in, and all of a sudden it looks like, oh, this kind of looks like a new house. Light
Oh,
fixtures is another thing that is kind of an easy fix as well. And it can be relatively inexpensive. So those are all things. And I kind of just went through this with my parents recently as well. So
so
transforming their
they're
house
out.
into something that looks a lot newer. It doesn't have to be expensive. You just have to kind of look at everything as a whole and see, what can I change here that'll really make it attractive.
Okay, yeah, there's a few fixes.
Yeah.
That's going good. That's good. So now, reasons to sell. Is now a good time to sell your house? Like, is it right now a seller's market is the best thing right now for sellers? They're gonna make the most money now, or should they wait and we're in a buyer's market? Would you say we're in a seller's or buyer's market right now?
Well, we're definitely in a seller's market, and we have been for
Mhm.
some time. Um, people, is it the right time to sell? It really depends on what your plans are, right? Generally, in a seller's market, I would say it's a great time if you're looking to downsize, right? Because you can
Yeah.
kind of cash out on your current property, and you can get something smaller for cheaper, and just kind of hold on to that cash. Um, but it really depends on what your plans are. What you're looking to do. But do you wait for if you're a buyer? Do you wait for it to turn to a buyer's market? You know, it, there's no crystal ball. Like, I can't say what's going to happen to the market. It definitely, the prices definitely went up a lot in the last
When is
seven
it gonna
months.
stop rising? This is getting crazy
Yeah,
for us buyers.
I know, and I know we've kind of chatted about this before. I You see, with Toronto, and I guess with Canada in general, um, there are a few factors that contribute to the hot market. Um,
Okay.
one of the big things is immigration. Because we're a growing country,
Yeah.
and we have like hundreds of thousands of people that are usually coming in every year, and that obviously contributes to the real estate market. We haven't had that in the past year because of COVID. So,
Okay.
you know, could that have a staggered effect on the market? Maybe. But then, the other factors here, obviously, the super low interest rates are the main reason why prices are so high. And, Bank of Canada hasn't really indicated that they plan on raising interest rates for a while. And so at least variable rates will probably remain low.
Uh,
Uh, you know, Fixed rates are tied to the 5-year fixed is tied to the 5-year bond rate. That's slowly been inching upwards. Is it going to continue that way? I don't know. It could. Um, you know, will those things, and just the fact that prices went up so much in the last 7 months in some sort of correction here, it could. It could. It may also not happen.
okay.
They're also saying that
Oh, okay.
once everyone's vaccinated, that the economy is going to be booming, and so if that happens, then people are feeling confident, then they might look to buy real estate as well. So, where one factor kind of comes in, another factor might balance it out. So,
Yeah. It's
it,
crazy.
you can't really say either way that the market could go up or down. And I think they're predicting a pretty strong year this year for real estate.
Wow. So even with
Um,
COVID, people losing their jobs, high rent price, housing prices
yeah,
going through the roof, still there's a strong market.
there is a strong market, and it's definitely not equal for everyone. So there's a segment of the population that is getting into the market, and there's a segment of the population that there's no way they can afford it at the current prices. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Rent has actually gone down over the last year
Oh,
for, I
that's
think,
good.
I think the first time since I've become an agent, rent has just constantly been going up. Um,
What
but
happened?
because of COVID, because of COVID, I think, people were less drawn to condos, which is where I guess the bulk of renting would happen, right? I mean, aside
Yeah,
from apartment buildings and all that. And also, the big factor is the fact there's a sort of a glut of supply in terms of pre-construction condos are finishing now. And so people, just because there's that large supply, people have options. And
yeah.
that's what people have been talking about for a while. Oh yeah, once these condos are ready, rent will be under control. So that just coincidentally, I guess,
Oh,
happening
okay.
now in the age of COVID. But all those factors, I think, have caused rent to come down a bit over the last year. But I am starting to see things pick up a bit, and I should say it really depends on location. Some locations fare better than others, and as a realtor, you've heard the expression location, location, location.
Yeah,
That
that's
that's
right.
true for for any prospective buyer. You should think about where you're buying, so that whether it's a hot market or whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, you know, um, you won't have trouble selling your
So,
property, or it'll have a
yeah.
better chance at holding its value if the market's not hot. You know, and for rent. I think it is starting to inch upwards. I had a lease recently that was
Okay.
sitting for a while, and but the landlords were pretty strict about the price that they wanted to get, and I think things kind of bottomed out towards the end of the year, and then in the last couple months, we started to get a little more interest and finally leased it out last week.
Okay.
So and that's actually the longest I think I've ever had a listing on the market. But I I think it's part of that they talk about a K-shaped recovery. So some people are getting into the market, some people can't, and hopefully things change with the economy so that more people can afford to save up and can afford to buy a home in the near future.
Yeah, because that's the goal for everybody to get their own home
Yeah,
than to rent.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think, for our families, I think it's true for a lot of immigrant families that, when they come here, that is one of their main goals is to
Yeah, to
save
get
up
a
and
house.
buy a place, right? That's the best way to build wealth, is to own real estate. Obviously, there are
Yeah,
many ways to build wealth. There could be
exactly.
stocks and everything, but real estate
The
is
most
really kind of
millionaires
that
came out of
passive
real estate.
wealth builder.
Yep,
Absolutely.
that's the
Yeah.
number one way because you could put everything on there. You could put once you get a property, that alone brings you rental income. That alone gives you a line of credit to pay for stuff at a lower price. You can put
That's
all
right.
that stuff with the home. So yeah, the wealth accumulation
I mean,
accelerates once you get a house.
you know this better than me. Like you've been in this in that area of the business for a while now, right? So what's your
Yeah,
experience been like?
you know, Buffalo and Cleveland and Toronto, you're always gonna get rental income, but
Yeah.
the value of the house, I don't know why in Canada has gone up at such a high return. So now I'm trying
Yeah.
to balance everything out by selling a couple Buffalo and Cleveland properties so I can buy properties here in Toronto. So then you kind of balance out the portfolio a little.
Yeah. I would say it's not all of Canada. It's specific to a couple of markets, Toronto being one of them.
The
And
golden
like I
horse.
said, it's the golden horseshoe. It's just because the bulk of immigrants coming into Canada, they usually start out in the GTA, or maybe on the West Coast around Vancouver. And so that obviously plays a role, right? A lot of the
Yeah.
job opportunities are here as well, and so that obviously is going to have a knock-on effect on real estate.
Yeah, because if you see now, if you ever driven back to Scarborough, you know, where we lived, and Malvern. And these are places like when you were in high school, we used to joke about that it's like the ghetto, or even Oshawa. People used to joke about Oshawa being the ghetto. You drive those areas now, wow, you can't even get those properties.
Yeah, a bunch of ghetto millionaires now. Huh?
You got to be a millionaire now to live in Malvern or Oshawa. You got to be a millionaire.
That's right.
We used to joke about those areas
Yeah,
now with all
yeah,
new constructions and renovations and condos, all this empty land being built up in those areas. You got to be a millionaire now to be living in those areas. We used to joke about those areas. Now we wish we could get a
that's right.
house in those areas.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I
just
know.
that's all of my questions I have
No,
for you.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's changing. It's
cool, cool.
changing. It's always good.
Hopefully I was able to help.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are all of my questions. I don't know if you
yeah.
have any
Excellent.
comments, you know, anything you'd like to say, any advice or final words.
Uh, I would just say, thanks for having me on. I know you're kind of
You're
doing
welcome.
big things with your social media platforms. So, I appreciate you kind of reaching out to me, and it's really nice to connect after a while, and hopefully once this pandemic's over, we
Yeah,
can
we gotta meet
have a
up.
drink in person. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot to catch up on. For anyone that watches this, hopefully, I think you asked a lot of really thoughtful questions, and so, hopefully my answers are helpful. And if you have any questions and want to reach out to me,
I'll leave
you
a link
can
down below for
give
them.
me a call. You-
Yep.
yeah, I know, I appreciate that. So yeah,
If
you
you're
feel free
interested
to
in
reach
buying
out to me.
or investing, I'll leave the link down below to reach out to Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help.
And my final word is, you gotta get a house right now. You know why? Because God
Hmm.
is not making more land. So it's only going to go up in value. So you got to start buying a house and start now.
That is 100% correct. Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
that's actually something my dad told me before too. And I was, you know, uh, trying to figure out whether to buy a condo or a detached house.
Hmm.
He said it's always better to get a detached house because there's only so much land available, right?
That's right. That goes up
Um,
in value
yeah,
faster than anything else.
it typically does. Although I would say that right now, with the market being as hot as it is, there's a lot of value sale condos right now, and I've actually been
Oh, okay.
recommending for some of my buyer clients. But yeah,
As long as you're
even the
not
condo
doing
market
Airbnb,
kind of
of course.
that I think that might be
They're
a topic
coming
for a
down
different
after them
live
in those
stream.
condos doing those Airbnb.
Oh man, yeah, man.
Just
So
straight renting.
they're out there for buyers. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
lots of
thank you
options
for coming out.
that
So
want to get into the
on
market.
that note, we're pretty much going to close out. Thank you for
Thanks for
coming
having
on,
me.
Justin. You're welcome.
Thanks
Bye
for having me,
bye.
bro. All right, take care. Bye bye.